Welcome back to the vlog, guys. If you haven't already watched part 1, go ahead and watch that before you watch this vlog because we're starting out straight away on hole 7. The day is coming to an end and we're gonna play some night golf now, so I hope you guys enjoy this vlog. Stay tuned to my first ever time playing a full round of night golf. Let's get started.
Nice. Sweet. Good shot.
After a decent tee shot, I left myself on the fairway. The pin is tucked right here and there's a bunker in front of the pin, so I'm trying to carry this all the way to the pin here. There is much more space on the left side, but I felt pretty comfortable with my uphill lie that if anything my ball was going to draw a little bit, so I knew that for this shot I could just take dead aim at the pin. I hit a good approach shot, but I didn't know that the entire green was downhill. Kind of a theme that I'm seeing around here. I feel like the pin positions today are a little bit tricky as well. So if you can see on the left side of the screen, the downhill lie was where the bunker was, so I probably landed somewhere there, and which is why my ball ended up going over. But it's not too bad here, just a straight uphill chip. So next up we have hole 8, which is a pretty long par 4 playing around 420 yards. There is not much to this tee shot here, which is nice, especially because it's a long hole, so you can really just go out there and try to give it a rip and try to get it as far down as you possibly can to give yourself a shorter club into this green. I would say you would just like to favor a little bit towards the left side of this fairway.
Nice. Good shot.
After the tee shot, I had 171 yards to the pin. The pin today is located right behind the bunker, as you can tell, so it's a little bit of a sucker pin. There's definitely more space on the right side. Going for this pin was probably not the best idea. However, I don't know if you guys realized, but I'm using brand new clubs and this is actually the first time I'm bringing it out to the golf course. So I was definitely just trying to play around a little bit, trying to judge distances and trying to see how far the ball is going. So therefore, that's why I decided to go for this pin. On a normal situation, I would definitely either aim towards the right side or the left side of the bunker, depending on your shot shape, and not take on this pin, especially with a long club because the ball is not going to stop. So over here you can see the consequence of trying to take on that pin. I am in a very bad situation here. My ball actually got stopped by the rake and that's why I didn't go in the bunker. So now I have a very tight lie with not much landing area. I really don't have much choice here. I'm really just trying to nip the ball clean and not take the sand under it, and hopefully let the flag get in the way of the ball. So I don't know if you could hear the sound, but thankfully my ball hit the pin because that was the only way I was going to stop the ball there. It was completely downhill where I was going to land the ball. So yeah, definitely not an ideal position to be in. Like I said, this was not a pin that you want to go for, especially when you're hitting long clubs. So I think that's something very important to note as well. It's not just about the hole, but it's about the club that you're hitting. Whenever you're hitting a long club, if there's a wider side of the green, you should always go for it. It doesn't matter if you feel like the pin is more accessible or not. The chances of you hitting a long club and being able to spin it and hit it perfectly is much lower. So aim towards the wider side to avoid leaving yourself in situations like this, which is going to cause the big numbers to come into play. So we've reached hole 9, which is a par 3. It's again a bit of a tricky pin position. The pin is located past the bunker. So what we want to do is obviously have enough club to carry the bunker. I'm going with an 8 iron here just to give myself a bit of clearance from that bunker. And I'm going to be aiming straight at the pin. So obviously a big difference between this hole and the previous hole with both the pins tucked behind the bunker is that, like I said, I'm hitting a short club into this pin. So I can definitely be more aggressive. So before you even look at the hole or look at the pin position, what you really need to see is how far you have and what kind of club you're hitting into this pin. If you're hitting a long club, you should never be thinking about the pin. Just think about what's going to give you the best chance to put yourself on the green, whereas if you have a short club, then you can be much more aggressive.
Nice.
So I went a bit past the pin, but I knew that I had a bit more club than I needed. With the pin being kind of in a center location distance-wise, and with there not being much past the pin, but with a bunker short of the pin, you definitely want to favor middle towards back of the green distance-wise, because that's going to give you the best chance that even with a miss, you are probably still going to be past that bunker and maybe putting from the bottom of the pin. Whereas if you hit it solid, worst to worst, you're just going to be having another putt from somewhere on the green. I think a big thing that a lot of people need to be able to do is just to hit more greens. The chances of you screwing up your score from the green is much lower than when you have to chip, especially for a lot of amateur golfers who struggle with feel and touch. So just give yourself the best opportunity to be on greens and to hit more putts, because that's also going to improve your feel around the greens. So next up, we've reached hole 10, which is a par 4. For this hole, we've got a little bit of a headwind blowing from the left to the right. It's not exactly a super short hole either, and there are bunkers covering the left side. So for me, I was just trying to play towards the right side of those left bunkers. Like I said, the wind was blowing left to right, so just letting the wind naturally take the ball and not playing against it.
Nice shot. This one very nice. I like the hit.
So after the tee shot, I wasn't left too far from the pin. I was playing about 140 with a little bit of a headwind. I don't know if you've noticed, but in many situations today, I have been on a little bit of an uphill slope. So the tendency with this is usually to play a little bit more of a draw, and because it's an uphill slope, the ball will tend to go a little bit higher. As I sit on the tee box, the wind was also blowing into us and a little bit from the left to the right. So as a draw player, this also tends to make the ball go a little bit shorter just because the ball is kind of shaping into the wind. So therefore, I'm trying to take a little bit more club here, going with a 7-iron. The pin is also in front, so I'm just really trying to get myself on the green here. So my ball did end up at the green, but quite a bit short. Like I said, I was hitting into the wind, as well as my short shape was also drawing into the wind, so that probably made the ball go quite a little bit shorter than I expected it to. However, it's still on the green and it's not too bad. For most situations, having an uphill putt still is better than giving yourself a difficult downhiller, because most of the time it's easier to judge an uphill putt where you can be more aggressive versus having to judge the line and the speed of a downhill putt. I think you can tell though that I was definitely having a bit of difficulty adjusting to how hard I needed to hit the putt when it was going uphill into the green, because I have left quite a few of them short today. Next up, we have hole 11, which is a par 4. So there are bunkers surrounding the left and the right side of this fairway. And I don't really know, but on the tee box, it was kind of difficult to see what was down the left side of this fairway. So I was actually aiming more towards the right side. But after playing this hole, I realized that I definitely needed to favor more towards the left side of this fairway rather than the right side.
Okay.
I think you will clear the bunkers, but it's just that
Maybe no line to.
So with what I said on the tee box, obviously I just hit a bad drive, and that's why I ended up in this position. I can't go for the green because the pin is basically behind all these trees on the right side. So I'm just trying to chip it out here. It's not too far, so I can get it close. However, if I get too close to those right trees, there's a chance of me hitting them. So there's really no point in bringing that into play. So just hitting a little chip out here towards the left side. So after that, as you can tell, I'm not too far from the green, but I am in a little bit of a rough. What I could tell from this green is what you can see in this clip. The pin looked like it was on a little bit of a slope, but I did not know what was past that slope. After playing that, obviously now I know that I can't hit it past this pin, but at that time I obviously didn't know that because I would have probably not been so aggressive with this chip shot.
Slope past that.
So with this being a casual round, I definitely still should have made the effort to go walk up to the green and look at the contours of the green, because I would have seen that slope, but I obviously did not at that moment in time. And look at how far I ended up from the pin, because that was a pretty severe slope. So these are just the mistakes that a lot of people make on everyday rounds, and these are the kind of things that you can definitely avoid. I think obviously it's acceptable to hit bad chips and end up in bad situations, but there's nothing worse than hitting what you think is a decent chip and ending up in a bad position. So I think this is a very easy way in which people can save strokes just by analyzing green contours. Obviously you're not going to pull off every single shot, but if you have the right idea, like if I knew that there was a big slope, I would have favored being short of the pin rather than being aggressive, especially because, as you guys know, I was already trying to get it close because I was trying to save a par because I had to chip out. So with that being the case, I think that this hole could have definitely been played a lot better. It is my first time playing here, so I can't expect to know every single thing about this golf course, and it's just something that I'll have to learn and keep in mind for the next time.
Hold it.
Terrible double.
So that hole is over now. It wasn't a great hole, but we've got a sharp par 4, so let's see if we can make a stroke up here. So the entire right side is a water hazard and there's a little tree in the middle of the fairway. So there's two ways to play this hole. You can either hit it towards the left side or the right side of that tree, but everything on the right side will kick towards the water hazard. However, if you hit it towards the right side, you're most likely going to have a shorter approach shot into the green. With this being my first time and with just making a double, obviously I'm not going to take the risk of hitting it towards the more quote-unquote difficult side, which is the right side. So I'm just going to favor the left side, which is left of that tree in the center of the fairway.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect.
So after the tee shot, I did run out of fairway a little bit, so my ball ended up in the rough. It is sitting down a little bit, but it's only 70 yards to the pin. The pin is all the way behind, and with this lie, I feel like there's not going to be much spin to the ball. So I'm just really trying to hit it somewhere towards the center and let it bounce towards this pin. So I'm happy with my approach shot because it did what I wanted it to do, and I left myself with an uphill birdie putt here, which is the best kind of birdie putts. So as we're lining up this putt, I'm going to end this vlog here and part 2 here. Stay tuned for part 3, which is the last 6 holes. Tell me if you guys like or dislike this format of splitting up course vlogs into 3 sections. I feel like with these shorter segments of time, you guys are going to be able to enjoy it better and see the entire course vlog rather than a 30-minute long vlog where most of you guys are going to click out after 15 anyway. So don't forget to like this video if you did, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for part 3. Catch you in the next one.